As we reported earlier in the program, the FDA today gave full approval for the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine against COVID-19. President Joe Biden says people who have been waiting for that milestone to get their shot need to get it now to stem what he calls a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Across the country, virtually all the COVID-19 hospitalizations and deaths continue to be among the unvaccinated. That's worse in states where vaccination rates are overall low. But even in states where many people are vaccinated, the unvaccinated are still at risk.
And joining us now is Dr. Michael Angaroni, an infectious disease specialist with Northwestern Medicine. Dr. Angaroni, thanks for joining us again.
Well, thanks for having me on.
All right, so first of all, what effectively does full FDA approval mean for the Pfizer vaccine?
So really what this means is that the FDA has now looked at the data and for the vaccine and really have determined that it's safe and effective for Americans and for everyone to use. And it really kind of puts that kind of stamp of approval of this vaccine is something that we should all be getting and that it's safe to get.
And do you think it will spur people who have been hesitant to now go out and get a shot?
So that's what we hope. We know that not everyone who's hesitant to get the vaccine, the reason is not because of the lack of the FDA approval. But what we do hope is those individuals that are out there, that's what they were waiting for. This really encourages them to go and get vaccinated, or they talk to their healthcare provider and their provider says, look, the vaccine's now approved. Here's all the other evidence or what we've talked about before. So now let's go and get vaccinated.
And I'm curious, you're on the front lines here. You deal with patients every day. What do you hear about in your conversations about the vaccine as to why folks are resistant or hesitant?
I think there's multiple reasons. The biggest one that we hear about is the lack of data, the lack of the FDA approval. And I think now this reinforces the data is there that this vaccine is safe and that it works the way that it should. Other reasons are the different platform that the vaccine, especially the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, being an mRNA vaccine, not knowing what the long-term effects are, or I think people just not realizing how serious infection with SARS-CoV-2 and COVID can be, and thinking that it's better to get the natural infection.
And does this full approval give businesses, governments, private organizations more impetus to impose vaccine mandates?
I think it helps. It helps those businesses and those organizations that are putting forth mandates that now this vaccine is approved. It's not this, emergency use, or it's not this, maybe the data will come in. The data is there and it's approved. And so I think that helps support these mandates that are going to be coming through many different organizations and employers. And it really, I think, gives them that extra push to push for getting their employees vaccinated.
And I think the next milestone now is when it'll be approved for kids under 12. Dr. Fauci said something today about it coming sometime in the fall. What do you know about when that might happen?
That's what we've heard as well, is that the FDA really wants to take a close look at the data in young kids, so that kind of, less than 12 group of individuals, to really see how safe is it. And I think that's what it's all about, is safety in kids. And the vaccine needs to be really safe in kids, and they need to know that it's going to be safe.
Is there any data that would suggest it's less safe for children than for adults?
We have not seen that. We have not heard that. We know that there have been, both in adults and in kids, the adverse effects of some of the nerve dysfunction, like the Guillain-Barré or the cardiac myocarditis abnormalities that have been identified. But those have not been widespread, and they've been seen both in adult and kids. So there haven't been any kid hallmark adverse effects that we've been seeing, that I've heard of.
And this comes as classes have resumed already in many school districts. CPS goes back next week. What can you tell us about how safe classrooms are, or how susceptible they could be to spreading the virus?
I think that's a great question. And I think it's something that we're all worried about, is what's going to happen when kids are back in school. And I think we have examples from last year with different school districts and different school providers, education providers, that had kids going to school throughout the whole year. The Chicago Archdiocese is an example, and they did it safely. And so now we have, I think, kind of the backing of experience and science to know that if we mask kids, if we kind of monitor the different activities that they're doing together, that there's not a lot of mingling amongst the different groups of kids, that they can go to school safely, they can be in person. I think the vaccine starts to help. Right now we have older kids, so 16 and over is what the approval is for. We have the teachers that can get vaccinated, so that offers a layer of protection. Eventually we'll have kids getting vaccinated. And so just like influenza, we'll have that protection amongst the kids. But I do think that there has been some precedent for getting kids back to school over the prior school year. And so I think it's really great seeing other school districts and other education providers getting kids to go back in person.
All right, of course, the other news of the last week is the president and CDC authorizing booster shots for folks, given data that suggests the efficacy of the vaccine might wane a bit over time. Now, the World Health Organization is somewhat against that, saying we need to get everyone their first shots before boosters happen. What's your take on booster shots?
Yeah, so I think the booster is based off of data that's coming out of Israel, some data amongst the vaccine companies and the CDC, that there is decrease in efficacy of the vaccine for symptomatic infection. I think we have to look at that for what it means. So we know that people are getting symptomatic infection who get the vaccine, but they're still being protected from getting severely sick. Are we seeing that? Yes, we are, but nowhere near the magnitude of the unvaccinated. And I do think it's really important to think about who are at high risk for breakthrough infections or potentially getting serious infection after vaccine, and determining, is that group, do they need a booster, and when do they need that booster shot? Just like the additional vaccine that's recommended for immune compromised. But I think it's very important to think about the rest of the world that hasn't been vaccinated, and the 30% of individuals that haven't received even one vaccination here in the United States. And that's really, I think, the key for trying to control this pandemic and tamp down the severity of this pandemic, is getting everyone vaccinated, or as many people as possible, that first series of vaccine, and then start thinking of the booster. I think it's something we can do in concert. So thinking about who to booster here in the United States or in the world, the countries of the world that have resources to vaccine. But I think really taking a serious look at how do we get the areas of the world that don't have access to vaccine, Africa, areas of South America, Asia, that really need to get their people vaccinated.
Certainly a vexing problem, and a lot of data still to gather on these breakthrough infections, who they might be impacting more. And our thanks, as always, to Dr. Michael Angarone.
Thank you.